Welcome back, viewers. The Kashmir fire is raging. More and more voices are now coming out revealing the Hindu genocide cover-up. The Holocaust enablers are in dock and the onus lies on them to answer as to why they were silent when terror was unleashed on Kashmiri Hindus. Former top cop SP Vaid has come out with a sensational revelation. He says 70 hardcore dreaded terrorists trained to spill the Hindu blood were released by the then Farooq Abdullah government between July and December 1989 when Rajiv Gandhi was at the helm of affairs at centre. The Pannoon Kashmir in its petition to the rights panel has squarely blamed Farooq Abdullah for going against the advisory panel's decision to release the terrorists that led to mass-scale arson, killing and butchery that we saw in Valley. Let me straight away bring in Mr. SP Vaid, who is now joining us. Sir, thank you so much for speaking to Times Now once again. I want to ask you, Mr. Vaid, what can you tell us about the release of the 70 terrorists?
See, you will have to find out who was the political establishment both in Srinagar and in Delhi, how this decision was taken. Let me mention here that if I recall correctly, in 1988, two constables of the Kupwara police were going from Kupwara to Tangdhar. They came across two men somewhere near Sadhana Pass, and this was an accidental encounter. They fired on the policemen, and these two people were arrested. Later on, with the interrogation, the whole conspiracy, the Operation Topak, which was planned by ISI for whole this terrorism the affair in Kashmir, came out, and the top leadership of first batch of 70 people, many of them, I think about 13 of them were arrested by J&K Police, who unfortunately were released later on by the government, whoever was, I don't know whose decision it was, and that later on became the leadership of most of the terrorist organizations. So it was the J&K Police, that time, no one appreciated the effort of the J&K Police. It had unearthed the conspiracy hatched across, but many of them thought that this is being done for medals, for rewards, which was not the truth. And if you peruse the reports of the officers of that time, of Kupwara and IG Kashmir and the then DIG, you would come to know that J&K Police had done, the intelligence chief of that time had sent a report, but it was not appreciated by both the state government and the central government, and the terrorists who were arrested with arms were released.
Now, Mr. Vaid,
that actually gave a fillip.
We'll get into the details. We'll get into the details shortly, Mr. Vaid. But I want you to tell our viewers who are these 70 terrorists, some of the most dreaded terrorists trained in Pakistan, trained by the ISI.
No, I won't be able to recall the names. If you ask officers of that time, you would be able to get their names.
Okay, so Rajiv, you're saying
find out who was SP Kupwara at that time, who was IG Kashmir or intelligence chief, you would be able to, because it's, for me, so many years,
okay,
it is difficult to recall.
So what you're saying is Farooq Abdullah was the chief minister, Rajiv Gandhi was the prime minister, and the centre obviously had a say in the release of 70 terrorists.
See, it is very difficult for me to point out restraining, because it's not that simple. The radical Islamist agenda and the conspiracy which was hatched to cleanse the valley of minority community. It was too complicated a issue, and I don't think one particular anybody's order, but yes, everyone was taken aback by the events that happened suddenly. And I think we had central agencies working here, intelligence agencies, the J&K CID, the intelligence department, J&K Police working. But initially, the appreciation of conspiracy were actually took time for everyone to understand, and later on the damage, by the time it was realized, the damage was done.
Okay, but Mr. Vaid, are you aware of any instance in Jammu and Kashmir where the police was restrained by the powers that be from going after those responsible for the Hindu genocide?
I won't be able to name. I think the people of country will judge whoever was the leadership. I don't know because I was too junior at that time. I was ASP in '89. I don't know whose decision it was. But yes, the decision which was politically taken did had a demoralizing effect on the then J&K Police, which had arrested these initial terrorists, the group which later on gave leadership role to most of the terrorist organizations.
Let's talk about the probe little bit. Are you in favor of a fair and independent inquiry into the genocide that is much needed to ensure justice?
I think people of the country need to know, and people of J&K who have suffered the most, people of Kashmir Valley who have suffered the most, and everyone, security forces have suffered so much. I think everyone has right to know what happened, what were the decisions which actually whether taken in a hurry, whether without appreciation of the events. I think everyone have a right to know why those decisions were taken, how it was taken, and what was the interest of the country in those decisions.
But as someone who served as the DGP, let me tell you, the NIA arrested Bitta Karate, among others, in the 2017 in a terror funding case. In 2006, sir, you would remember the same Bitta Karate who had confessed to murdering Hindus was released on bail. And the court said that the prosecution was disinterested in the case. Are you aware about the issues or the details of this case or the political patronage that was given?
Yes, I know Bitta Karate's role in killing of many. In fact, not only me, everyone in the country has seen that sensational interview of his, in which he confesses that he will not only kill anybody his leader tells to kill, even his mother he will shoot. I think that was shocking interview for everyone, whoever saw, whether in Kashmir Valley or all across the country, whoever. Those days, unfortunately, I think this is a case of early 90, media was not that much in the country, and whoever saw that interview was shocked that a person could be brainwashed to the extent that he would be willing to kill his own mother, who because of her this man has come in this world. And that is the level of radicalization that Pakistan had done. So Bitta Karate, having confessed openly in the media, but unfortunately, you know, under the Indian Evidence Act, the confession before a police officer is not admissible.
No, I understand completely what you're saying, which is why Times Now, Mr. Vaid, is going after enablers, the abettors. I thank you for joining us on Times Now with that big revelation. And who are these 70 dreaded terrorists trained in Pakistan by the ISI to kill Hindus? Ishan, we have the list. The most dreaded terrorists were released.
Well, right, that is what SP Vaid is revealing today in his tweet. He said that, that it was a time when, they were released. And in another tweet, he has made an interesting line where he says that these releases could not have happened without the, authentication or a go-ahead from the center and the government at that time, which was in the center. So that's a bigger question that he has raised in his tweets. And now, through Times Now, he has revealed that they used to, they were actually let go. Because if you see the case of Rubia Saeed, also when Wahba Mufti's sister was actually kidnapped back then, Mufti Saeed was the home minister. There were negotiations with the militants about releasing of her sister, and then also we saw that there were some militants who were actually released to get her out of those particular when she was abducted. So this is something which there are a lot of questions around this particular issue of releasing certain people. And then if you see the hijacking of Indian Airlines also happening then, and then also we saw that Farooq Abdullah claiming that he did not want them to be released. So there is a lot of politics in these releases. But one has to see, because now SP Vaid has raised this question that, there was some political intervention due to which they were released. Why were they released? That is something that the political parties will have to answer.